What's good, YouTube? It's your boy JusticeXFalls. We back at it again with another video. Today we're looking at the Forspoken final preview. So this is another game IGN has been covering since it's been announced, however long ago it was. So have we. So we're gonna take a look at the final preview that they got. If you want to see, I played the demo. There's a demo out for it now. It got announced for it at the Game Awards 2022. If you want to play this on PS5, if you want to see my playthrough, I'll link it here at the end of the video, or it'll pop up in the annotation somewhere. So without further ado, let's get to this video.
That is something I do now. I do magic, talk to sentient cuffs, kill jacked up.
Today we proudly
Wow.
present
L ads, bro. The book. And I gotta wait for the whole ad too. That's crazy. Oh yeah, Christmas game's gonna be lit. You already know. You turn it on.
I do magic, talk to sentient cuffs, kill jacked up beasts. You know what? I'll probably fly next.
Across my roughly 3 hours of time spent hands-on with Forspoken, I arrived in a fantastical new world, battled a dragon, and took part in a prison break. This all sounds like it should be very exciting, but in truth, so far Forspoken feels like a game getting in its own way. The latest action RPG from Square Enix.
Oh, he got a different build. He talking about he fought a dragon and did a prison break. We didn't do that in the demo. You don't get to do that in the demo. The demo that they put out to the public.
Enix definitely does display some potential thanks to a promising combat system that could become excitingly nuanced over time, but its opening sections sadly often feel uninspired.
I said something about that. Sorry to keep pausing it so early, but I did say something about that in my demo playthrough. It's like, it seems like it's going to be one of those games you really got to dig in and open up that skill tree before you really get to like fully see what it has to offer. Like the beginning is going to be a drag. That's what I said, and that's pretty much what he said there.
I was able to play through chapters 2, 3 and 5, which allowed me to gain a pretty good grasp of Forspoken's rhythm. The open world of Athia is littered with things to do, including side missions, dungeons and battles aplenty. Its variety of activities is not going to come as too much of a shock to those who have played a game in the genre. Encouragingly, some of those fights can be a real challenge, and I definitely encountered some fascinating foes that I was simply far too underleveled to take on despite my best efforts. Regardless of my defeat at the hands of more daunting foes, combat is where Forspoken is at its most engaging. Its quick nature and the way it always keeps you on your toes as you juggle its many magical abilities harbours genuine tactical promise. There are over 100 spells to wield in Forspoken, many of which appear genuinely exciting in gameplay trailers, but you're limited to an unexceptional select few in those first chapters. This can lead to early stretches feeling a bit one-note as you hold the trigger to fire chunks of rocks at enemies while occasionally dodging an attack. Once new unlocks start presenting themselves, however, it all becomes a whole bunch more interesting. I had fun mixing these standard spells with much more interesting support skills, such as conjuring roots from the ground to tie down enemies, and summoning a little plant turret friend to help out in sticky situations.
Yeah, you have attack spells, you have defensive spells, but you can still attack with them, and then you have like more support spells, like the spells that heal you, or like a turret or something like that, and then you can switch over to a whole other person's magic. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if I was paying attention in the cutscene or not. You have this girl's magic, and then you can switch over to somebody else's magic. Their magic, it seems more offense oriented because it's the fire magic, which is supposed to be the most powerful magic in the game, and you could just go crazy with that. In the demo, I was mostly using the fire magic because enemies were resistant to the rocks and stuff, to my magic, so I just switched over to her magic, and she was just wrecking shit, like for real.
All of these abilities belong to the Earth-based magic skill tree, one of 4 different elemental types you'll acquire over the course of the adventure. I do fear that being restricted to these fairly basic abilities for so much of the start of Forspoken isn't the best way to introduce its combat systems. While I've so far been unable to use them, I've seen glimpses of extensive skill trees filled with bigger and...
This is the bigger skill tree. You use the fire and all of that. This is her. This is the other person. Whose magic you have access to.
Better abilities that tease evolving and exciting gameplay. It's a battle system that does show genuine promise, and it left me with reasons to be excited about the possibilities of juggling different magic types and the effects combining spells can have on enemies. I'm holding out hope that it develops substantially and with greater speed, because in truth, there was sadly little else about Forspoken that held my attention.
Junoon is part of Athia.
I get it. Like New York City versus New York State.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
I think.
The story is the age-old Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz tale of a stranger being transported to a magical land and, presumably, leaving as their saviour. Protagonist Frey Holland is an abrasive character who doesn't have much time for anyone or the fish-out-of-water scenario she finds herself in. I have seen hints at her softening though, which hopefully points in the direction of an endearing character arc. She's capably portrayed by Ella Balinska, despite being saddled with a rather flaky script of which every other word appears to be
This cannot be f***ing real. A dragon? What the f*** was that? Hey, the f***ing monster! Make this f***er like
I like it.
Ah!
I don't mind it.
Oh,
Seriously, I must have heard it over 100 times in my few hours, and whilst I'm no prude, it doesn't lend itself to creating a subtle or nuanced protagonist.
I get it, I get it.
word.
More painful were the conversations between Frey and her anthropomorphic bracelet companion, Cuff. While walking around with a charming Paul Bettany sound-alike on your wrist could easily be a pleasant experience, in Forspoken it comes across as less Jarvis and more jarring.
Can we just not talk?
Fine. Fine by me. Suit yourself. I love a bit of silence.
Further off-putting are the visuals of Forspoken, which certainly doesn't display the sort of graphical firepower you'd expect from a new-gen showcase, despite being on PS5 and PC exclusively. It just all feels quite barren and lifeless, and
Yeah, like that's another thing. Like it doesn't look bad. Like I think I mentioned that in my playthrough of the demo. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad at all. But it looks like it's giving. I think I even said it in the video. Like it was giving Xbox 360 almost. I want to say like a high-end Xbox 360 game, and I'm like, that's 2 generations ago. Like we on a PS5. This game is specifically built for PS5 and PC. Well, every game is made on a PC, but you know, as far as consoles, man, like I expected a lot more graphically out of this game.
an atmosphere especially highlighted in the city I spent a good chunk of my playtime in. A grey, anemic series of streets full of nondescript townfolk. It's also the location where I witnessed Forspoken commit its biggest crime so far. A frankly abysmal breed of auto-fail stealth mission that deserved to die with the PlayStation 2.
You are safe now.
I'm dead.
Thanks.
Once I made it through that particular nadir, however, Forspoken did continue to show more promise. Chapter 5 takes place in a wholly more interesting area of Athia, a red fiery land painted using similar brushstrokes to Elden Ring's Caelid. A vertically varied landscape with danger hiding at every layer, it's a place where my combat skills were fully tested alongside my magical parkour abilities. When it all clicks, darting across chasms and flipping over enemies can be a real delight. But for a game that places so much emphasis on these slick movement options, it can be frustratingly unreadable at times. Like so much of Forspoken, it feels like real fun is there to be had when it hits its stride, but it just trips itself up far too often in these early chapters. The final part of my hands-on was a big boss battle, which was easily among the highlights of my playthrough. Consisting of 2 difficult but varied phases, it constantly made me think on my feet and juggle all of my cooldowns and spells that I'd learned up until that point. The first section was an exciting fight against one powerful enemy and a group of soldiers that displayed genuinely smart battle design. I focused most of my firepower on the boss, saving my super useful tendril attack for the weaker enemies, which whipped vines around in a large area of effect and restored my health with every connection it made. This sort of clever encounter left me encouraged that Forspoken could throw up some inspired boss designs further down the road that will combine spectacle with challenge. While phase 2 of the fight did display some of that spectacle, I found it far less entertaining, and even bordering on annoying, as I was channeled into a narrow arena and asked to repeatedly avoid some pretty unreadable attacks. It also fell foul of one of Forspoken's visual calling cards, where the world's colour is drenched by a blue filter. It's meant as a representation for the break, the evil force that plagues this fantasy world, but just doesn't look very nice, and removes any sort of distinct identity away from a certain area. It also means you're missing out on some of the impressive creature designs. A massive dragon I met early on more often than not appeared to me as a giant winged silhouette.
That's not a good thing, is it?
Probably not.
I'm fairly convinced that there definitely is enjoyment to be found in Forspoken, but its early chapters don't seem like the place to consistently find it. The magical combat promises to develop and become more and more interesting over time, but whether that will be enough to overcome an uninspired script and the world it aims to bring alive remains to be seen. When we have so many open world action RPGs at our fingertips these days, Forspoken really needs to set itself apart. Despite leaving a less than impressive first impression, I am hopeful, if not confident, that it can. For more on Forspoken, check out this gameplay or the latest trailer.
Yeah, so honestly, I had like super high hopes for this game, but from playing the demo, just giving my perspective on it, from playing the demo, my expectations were a little bit lowered, but I still expect the game to be pretty good than what I got my hands on. This guy got his hands on more than I did, and he was still underwhelmed. But I think, like I said, the more you play the game, the better it gets. Like, I think some of the later game interactions are going to be something worth, you know, playing. Like, when you get Scylla's powers, I guess you get Scylla's powers after you beat her in the boss fight, but you automatically have the powers when you in the demo. But in this build that he played, you got to defeat her, I guess, for her powers. So once you get her powers, you really open up the tree. That's when it gets crazy. It's kind of like a Devil May Cry game. Like, the first time playing through was awesome because of the cutscenes and the scenery, just the over the top vision. But as far as like strictly gameplay wise, you're pretty limited in what you can do. So it is kind of annoying at first. But once you start unlocking abilities and skills, you start opening up new combo chains that you never thought you could even do. You know, and then when you unlock the full skill tree and you do a replay, you feel godly, you feel invincible type shit. So yeah, so I'm definitely willing to give this game a chance. I definitely said we're going to be playing this game. Like, that's a no-brainer. Again, I don't remember when this game comes out, but we gonna check right now. January 23rd. Okay, perfect. January 23rd. That's the end of the month. Around that time, I should be getting information on the song contest I entered for Cyberpunk 2027. So I can't wait for that. But yeah, this is definitely a game that's been on my radar for a while. We're definitely going to check it out when it comes out. I think it comes out the same week as the Dead Space remake. So we'll have a lot of content coming out that week. So be on the lookout for that. So let me know what y'all think in the comments, though. So y'all already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. This is your boy JusticeXFalls. We out. One.